What's happening, folks? My name is Robbie, and again, we are reacting to Millennial Money. This time, it's living on $70,000 per year in New York City. New York City, as I've mentioned a few times, is my hands down favourite place. I'd love to move there, but I know that I'm very tied down here, and I like my life here. But I always have little ideas in my head, oh, that would be cool to move to New York. Until I watch videos like this, and I find out how expensive it actually is to live in New York. This video, in particular, living on $70,000 per year in New York City. From what I've seen online, $70,000 is not that much for living in New York. Presumably they don't live in Manhattan, I'm going to guess. I think Brooklyn's quite expensive as well, actually. I was going to say Brooklyn. Queens. I'm going to say they live in Queens. Let's find out.
My first memory of performing for an audience was in elementary school, and I performed as Elvis doing Rock Around the Christmas Tree. And it kind of ignited that light in me. I knew that I loved performing, but I didn't necessarily know that could be a career until later on, until I was in high school, and then I started figuring like, ooh, this could potentially be it.
Ladies and gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
My name is Cesar Villavicencio. I'm 36 years old, and I make about $70,000 a year. I live in New York City, and I'm a drag queen.
I don't know how much drag queens make, but 70 grand a year seems quite decent for that type of job, like something that you enjoy rather than being an accountant or whatever the sort of normal job is. I suppose you need to work night shift most nights, which is annoying, but seems like quite a lot.
My name, Pixie Aventura, is not a deep name. It literally is a game that we played in high school of like, what's your stripper name? And it's the first pet you ever had, Pixie, and the street you were raised on.
So let's have a good time, yep.
5 nights a week, 90 minutes to 2 hours a night.
Hi, baby. Hello again. Hi, darling. Hi, babe.
Most of the shows go from being paid $150 to $200. In the summer, I do have a residency in Fire Island as well. That rate is higher, it's $500, but that is basically 16 weeks out of the year. And then come in the corporate gigs, specifically during the holidays and Pride. That's when the rate goes up. So I would say
Pride. I bet Pride month he makes an absolute fortune in that line of work.
it's around $400 to $600 an hour, based on exactly what it is.
Thank you. Thank you for attending my Zumba class at Lincoln Center.
Caesar spends about $900 per month on costumes and makeup for his performances. That's a business expense, so can't really argue with that, to be honest.
I have outfits that I can make myself, but then I have a gown that's $4,700. So
That's too much for a gown. It's too much.
it could be from a few hundred to that. In makeup, I could probably wear somewhere around $150 in products on my face. Wigs can run from $150 to $300. It depends on like if I buy it and I style it or if somebody else does it. Then we have shoes that are constantly being used at all of my events, which also run from $150 to $200.
He also spends $1,400 a month on ride-hailing services going to and from gigs, so Ubers and Lyfts and things like that. I've been to New York, I've been on the subway. I suppose the subway might not be the safest place dressed in drag. There could be some horrible people on the subway, but $1,400 a month is a lot of money to be spending on taxis and Ubers. He doesn't use public transit while in drag for personal safety and punctuality. Well, I suppose I was right. Probably not very safe being dressed in drag and getting on the subway in New York. It's quite a potentially dangerous place, I suppose, especially if you're going at night. But $1,400 a month on public transport or taxis and Ubers, surely there's another option there. That's too much.
If we're splitting it up on like different criteria, travel alone is probably the most. I do have insurance through New York City.
He's spending $400 a month more on housing and utilities compared to travel for work. Surely you can bill that to the places that you're working. If you're working in a club and you're doing a show, surely you tell them you're paying for my transport. Maybe they do that and he's just incorporating it in this.
No premium based on the amount that I make. I do have a life insurance that's actually fairly new. I also do have a SEP IRA account, and $150 is going into that a month.
$150 per month going into it. Your IRA, I believe, is like an ISA here. Putting $150 into it per month is not enough if you're making 70 grand a year. He also has about $27,000 remaining in student loans. The student loan thing, particularly in America, where it is astronomical, it boggles my head. I didn't go to university. I went to college, done an apprenticeship. I never went to university. My partner did. She's an accountant, so it was necessary. Doctors, necessary. Vets, necessary. Drag queens, I don't think you need to go to university for that. You could save quite a substantial amount of money by not going to university if you want to be a drag queen. I wonder what he studied in university. Might tell us. Hello everyone, I'm just interrupting this video for a quick plug. If you're watching this video, you probably already know who I am, but for the benefit of those who don't, I'm Robbie and I'm a specialist finance broker. This means I help property investors, property developers and small to medium business owners with funding on their projects. That's buy-to-let mortgages, bridging loans, buy-to-let mortgages for portfolios, development finance and commercial mortgages. If you're a property developer, investor or business owner, email me on this email address or send me a direct message on Instagram to find out how I can help you. Right, plugs over, back to the video.
I was 15 years old when I went into a club with a fake ID in South Florida. That was the first time I ever saw a drag queen, and it just felt magical. Everybody was believing this world that this performer was creating.
So when he was in college, which I think is university, he majored in musical theatre. So I suppose that does play into drag, but do you need a degree in musical theatre? Can you just get into musical theatre when you're young and work rather than going to university, getting a degree for that? I would guess so. Maybe I'm wrong. Although, to be fair to him, it's very applicable for what he wanted to do. So that's good, I suppose. At least he never went and studied geography and became a drag queen. At least he studied musical theatre, which makes sense.
This year moving to the city was rough, and I like to say that for anybody that moves here for the first time, even if they have a job coming in, it's still rough. The city knocks you up a bit. I would get to the end of all my auditions, but I would be cut right at the end. I felt like I was trying to fit myself into this hole that was already pre-made with my different identities of being Latin and being queer. And then drag just came knocking on the door with just random people that I would meet, and eventually I started doing it in the city. I started doing drag before Drag Race, so it wasn't necessarily the most popular career to get into. At first, I think it was just a way for me to have control over my artistry and my creativity. And as time went on, I realized that it was more than that. By 2014, I had 3 shows and I was asked to do a 4th show. And that's when I decided, okay, this is it.
He supported himself at the time by working at a salon and as a retail makeup artist. At least everything ties in together. Makeup artist and working at a salon, and then doing drag where the makeup ties in with the retail makeup artist as well. So he definitely knows what he wants to do and chooses other things that play into that. Again, instead of him being a drag queen at night and then working as a teacher during the day, for example.
I was working 3 days there and then 3 days doing shows. There was one day that I would be waking up at 9 o'clock in the morning, going home, maybe having an hour and a half, and then starting to get ready for the gig for the night. So that's why I decided that it was time for me to focus on what I really wanted to do, which at the root of it is performance and being a creative person, not necessarily working in retail. And that was a big decision.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for bringing 10% of your brand sales, because I brought 8.
So he's been at it for 9 years. Fair play.
Welcome to my home. I moved here in 2021 in August, and I said, enough. I'm gonna make this a home for me. I know it's rent, but I'm gonna make it a home. And follow me now to the treasure trove. This is the envy of any woman in the Upper West Side, but this is my drag room full of outfits, heels, and wigs everywhere you look, but it's all organized, rainbow coordinated for my own sanity. That's what I like to call my little makeup store. These are lashes and liners. This was a commissioned piece by my friend that actually helped me organize this room. And it has all of my inspirations. There's Chita Rivera, Robin Williams, Whitney Houston, Lucille Ball, Freddie Mercury, and my first drag queen ever, Bugs Bunny. One would think that a drag queen lives a glamorous life because of all the glamour that's involved with it. But a lot of it is just being at home and resting and trying to figure out what's gonna happen during that night. Usually I wake up around 11, which might sound late for most of 9-to-5ers, but if you think about it, my body has calmed down and wind down by 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, so it kinda balances off. While I'm doing that, I figure out what I'm performing that night, what I'm gonna wear, if I'm gonna work on some music.
He spends 2 to 3 hours doing his makeup. That obviously doesn't get taken into account of his monthly, not his monthly, his hourly rate that he's paid as well, that he charges the clubs and bars that he performs in, or the travel, potentially as well. So, I mean, it's still a full-time job, it's only being paid for 2 hours at a time, but there's quite a lot of prep before that, by the look of it.
I usually start getting ready for my shows around 6 or 7. I'm completely made up and everything before I go to my shows. I've been very fortunate to have opportunities with a lot of artists that I respect. Last Pride, I did a concert with Madonna and I was one of the featured performers. I've also done an award show.
It's pretty cool.
It's called the Obie Awards. And John Leguizamo was the host and I was able to do a skit with him. Currently, my show, Drag Me to Dinner, is on Hulu, so that was something that I filmed in September of last year. The more I meet people, the more the doors open up, and I've been doing it for a while, so people know what I'm capable of doing. If it were up to me in the next 5-10 years, I would probably say leaving nightlife and continuing higher level stuff, maybe more theater, more TV and film. As of now, I think any financial goals would probably be buying a house with my parents. It's not necessary, but I would love to go.
Let me tell you, financial goal number 1 should be upping that contribution to the IRA from $150 to a lot more than that. Maybe, just maybe shave a little bit off how much is being spent on Ubers and things like that. There must be a way around that because $1,400 a month is too much. And if you can save $100 on that, you can put an extra $100 aside into the IRA, which is better spent.
Into it with at least having 30,000, 50,000 to like put into a house because it's not just about buying it, it's also about making it your own. Drag has now become the cool thing right now, not just for nightlife, but for corporate America and
Jesus Christ, look at the legs on him. How is he that flexible?
Media as well. Like if you really want to get into it, yes, learn all the tricks that you need to learn. But why are you doing it? What is your voice? Because at the end of it, you're a drag artist. What do you want to say? And what's your goal? What's the point of what you want to do?
So, the last reaction video that I did was the guy who is a clown. And this is not, not to liken drag queens to clowns, other than the fact that they wear makeup and they perform. They're performers. But this is two people who are both sort of following their passion instead of just making money. This person, what was his name? Caesar, or Pixie, going by stage name. They are making 70 grand. So making 40-ish% more than the clown guy. But also living in New York City, which is a lot more expensive. But both of them are following their passion. They're doing what they enjoy rather than just working to pay the bills. It seems like the Millennial Money videos are starting to sort of change a little bit from my name is John, I live in New York and I'm a stockbroker and I make 600 grand a year, to now it's things that are slightly more unusual jobs. So drag queen, professional clown. It's quite interesting. Like I mentioned last time, it's quite interesting to see the different jobs that you might not consider, and the fact that people make full-time income from this, making more money than some people with sort of regular jobs, teachers, plumbers, electricians, whatever. This person's making more as a drag queen, which is quite interesting. I also think it's probably a good idea, the suggestion of moving into TV and film and theatre work rather than just clubs, because I think that can only go on for so long, sustainability wise. In my opinion, I wouldn't want to be working in nightclubs and bars well into my 30s. Personally, I would rather move into TV if possible. And he says that it has a TV show on Hulu, which I think is like a streaming service. So he's definitely moving in the right direction if he wants to do that. But that was pretty interesting. Makes a change from learning how much money people make as stockbrokers or estate agents and financy type jobs. That's now we've had a clown and we've had a drag queen. I wonder what we'll have next. I'll need to find something interesting, or maybe I find something more regular for the next one. But thank you as always for watching, folks, and I'll see you next week. Take it easy.